And we are joined now by KT McFarland, National Security Advisor. KT, I follow you on Twitter, and I saw that you just tweeted out that you're just back from China. And while you're in China, you really couldn't follow news in the United States like you normally would. And when you returned, you said it felt like you were back in 1973 all over again.
Yeah, but it's even better because I was in China for 10 days with a Nixon administration alumni group retracing Nixon's steps when the opening to China, which I was part of. Yeah. And so all we did was talk about Watergate for 10 days, not realizing that there was a whole other one happening, deja vu all over again.
Well, we want to sort of focus. There's so many things going on with the IRS, the AP thing, but also Benghazi continues to be a story because I don't think you've been with us since we found out that there were 12 revisions to the talking points. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you that, 9 months ago when we talked about it, I said they were lying. They are lying, and now we finally have proof that they were lying. But the bigger question is, why were they lying? Because their entire Middle East policy, I think, is a screw-up. I mean, why did Benghazi happen? Because we got in the middle of a Libya war, we toppled a dictator, and in place of that pro-American dictator, what happened? A lot of militant groups, Islamic extremists, the Al-Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda affiliates, and that's what was all about Benghazi.
Yeah.
And so, look, these things have such a predictable life. I mean, when I was in the White House during Watergate, you saw this unfold. An administration has a bad policy. Then the bad policy really gets screwed up, and they get caught. And instead of admitting it or coming forward, they cover it up. And then the cover-up eventually gets uncovered because the whistleblowers eventually come forward,
right?
Just like Watergate.
Well, and what the whistleblowers really revealed last week, KT McFarland, went beyond just those talking points. It revealed what happened that night in Benghazi and the fact that there was really no response despite pleas for help. And Jay Carney is even trying to pivot back to this topic. Here he is after being peppered with a lot of questions this week. Really quickly, listen to this.
The real issue is that 4 Americans died, and we need to do everything we can, as the President has committed himself to doing, to finding out who did it, finding out why, and to taking the steps necessary to ensure that our diplomatic personnel are protected.
And I agree. So, KT McFarland, 9 months later, what has the President done to find out who did it, and what has he done to bring them to justice?
He made a couple of speeches.
Well, there you go. He is good at that, KT.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. The fact that we for 10 hours these guys were asking for help and we didn't give it to them. Now, people say, Monday border quarterbacking say, well, we never would have gotten anybody there in time. Wait, we had a $600 billion military and we can't figure out how to do this? I mean, that makes no sense. We should have at least tried. We should have had ad hoc plans. We didn't. And by not going after the people after the fact, what have we done? I mean, I've said this before. There's a guy who's claimed responsibility bragging about it. He sits at the luxury hotel in downtown Benghazi sipping strawberry frappes poolside, giving interviews to Reuters and to the New York Times. Why are we not going after? I guess,
Abu Khatallah is his name. The New York Times wrote about him back in October of 2012. As you said, sitting in a luxury hotel sipping strawberry frappes, mocking the American response to the Libya attacks, and he walked scot-free. But in your experience, is it normal for the American government to be so quiet about their investigation into this and what they're doing about it?
Well, they weren't real quiet about the investigations. Getting getting Bin Laden. They're very happy to talk about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And here's, maybe what they should have done is this guy sipping strawberry frappe should have given an interview to the AP. And maybe in the wiretap that would have come out.
Then the FBI would know about it.
Yeah, then they'd know about it. They'd know all about it. But by not going after these people, what have you done? You've sent a signal that come kill Americans. Nobody's going to pay the price. We're not going to come after you. If you go look at what Osama bin Laden said prior to September 11th, or even right after September 11th, they said, we had that USS Cole bombing. Nobody came after us. It was an open season. In fact, Osama bin Laden used that recruitment video for Al-Qaeda, and then after that you have September 11th. So by not reacting, not responding, not nabbing that guy who's sipping strawberry frappes, we are sending a signal it's open season on Americans.
Suddenly I want a strawberry frappe. Listen, here I want you to take the bigger view, if you would, for me, KT. Step back, take the 30,000-foot view of what's going on in Washington right now with all these various scandals. As you point out, you served in the Nixon administration. How does this feel compared to that time?
well, it's horrible because nothing ever gets done. I mean, while you have, let's assume that these investigations go forward and we don't have just one scandal, we have 3. There will be more. I mean, now it's going to be every whistleblower in town's going to want to come and tell his story. So this will only get bigger. And as a result, the White House, there's only so much oxygen in the Oval Office. It all gets sucked out dealing with scandals. And the country has a lot of big problems. And we're not going to be dealing with them because we could well have another constitutional crisis. I think it's really important right now for the House to establish a select committee and not have this be a dozen different committees trying to have hearings. Have one select committee with a different expertise, levels of intelligence and law enforcement, blah, 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 and get those people all together and then investigate not just the Benghazi thing, but the imperial presidency.
Well, we got to leave it right there. KT, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Welcome home.
Thank you.